Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
Birds keep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty boys brawling, no holds barred loud. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman?
Tune in the vibe.
Gardi on the mic tonight. News coming in left and right. Oh, better with the latest fight. Gene's got that insight tight. Champions rise and they fall. Wire to wire, got it all. Every move and every brawl. Tune in for the curtain call. Wrestling talk all night long. Catch the latest match and song. Ring the bell, let's get it on. Every story bright and strong. In the ring they clash and roar. New rivalries and so much more. Titles change and legends lore.
Oh, I love watching the intro. That last clip of me and my cousin choke slamming my buddy through a table never gets old.
It's the best part of the intro.
Shout out to Trey, man. He was such a trooper for that. What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy Gardi3, and welcome to the Meaty Boys podcast. And of course, joining me just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time, Mo. Better. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great, Brett. Monday night. We're getting ready to talk some wrestling. Chat, appreciate you guys for joining us. Let's get into it.
No, absolutely. So, of course, we can start out with I thought we'd start with a fun question, Mo. If the WWE were to host a slam dunk contest, Mo, who would you pick to win it?
Look, I don't think I'm alone in this, but you know, when you think of dunk contests, you think of guys and gals who are the best athletes, the high flyers. And I don't know if there's a better pure athlete than the young guy, Javon Evans. I think I would think that Javon Evans would go into that. He would be the favorite, but I also think a guy like Carmelo Hayes would get some love, another high flyer. Look, I think there's some ladies. We talked about it. I think Sal Rook has got hops. I think she's a great athlete. So, yeah, but my favorite would definitely be Javon Evans.
No, absolutely. It's funny because that was the first name that came to mind. I was like, that's a fun question, but the guy I think would win too, Javon Evans. I think that'd be so much fun to have like skills competition, like kind of like All-Star Week and stuff for the WWE superstars. It doesn't need to be I feel like it would just be a ton of fun. I don't know. That might just be me though.
No, I look, you're onto something that I'm with and I want to see, because we know they're great athletes, but I think sometimes people forget that they're great athletes outside of their own arena too. Like, I think we've got some hoopers. in wrestling. We obviously have a lot of former football players, some track athletes. So yeah, I think for fun, maybe make it a WrestleMania event. I'm not talking about at WrestleMania, but on the build up, there's always a couple of days right before WrestleMania. You could do some entertaining things, and they don't have to be necessarily the superstars that are competing in WrestleMania because the roster is so deep. But there are other superstars that could be in some of those events, have some fun, maybe have a 3-point shootout, a one-on-one. Like it can't hurt, right? The WWE is as popular as ever. I think having them do different events with different stars, the ladies, the men, I think it would be a blast. I know I would watch.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's always fun to just watch the superstars let loose and just enjoy themselves. Speaking of All Stars, Mo, this past weekend, if the All Star game wasn't already the WWE of NBA basketball, right?
That's funny.
Mo, we learned that we might have a Kevin that has a burner account in the NBA, and now we may have just figured out that our resident Hall of Famer Kevin Nash in the WWE might need to get his own burner account.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is we were just talking about Javon Evans, and so his message, like overall message, gets lost because of the way he phrases it. I'll tell you what the message is. He says he wants Javon Evans to have a little bit more of an edge. But the way he phrased it, he's an incredible athlete. He's a little bit too Mr. Bungolis for me. I wish he was a little bit more urban. I understand in Netflix, I understand there's a big word out there. But I just want him to have a little bit of an edge. If he literally would just skip that first paragraph, I would completely understand where he's, coming from. But to come out and go, Javon Evans needs to be a little more urban. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, it's just such a weird way to phrase it.
If he would have just stopped at, I want him to be more aggressive, he would have been good. That last phrase, that last part, I want him to be more urban. That's one of those moments where somebody needs to tap you on the shoulder and say less. Maybe Nash should have came out in a mask and made those comments as the Shockmaster. It might have went over better. Look, I think his intentions were actually like pure. The delivery was not good in how he worded that. He definitely could have worded that better. As soon as I heard the words, I was like, what do you mean by being more? Because it can open the door to a bigger conversation that I don't think Kevin Nash was trying to do. And look, other people might disagree with me. I'm going to just say I think he misspoke. I don't think he was intentionally trying to go where it seemed like he was going. And to his credit, if you want to give him credit, it was him saying it. He wasn't hiding behind several burner accounts. It was Kevin Nash. I just didn't agree with the delivery. But again, like I said, I don't think how it came out was intentional.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. Kevin Nash, at the end of the day, like, he's given wrestlers some good advice before. Like, he obviously gave Raquel the advice to just work bigger, like, kind of more as a monster, just to her size, and it's worked wonders for her. I genuinely think Kevin Nash cares, but I also it just feels like that. Yeah, like you said, the delivery on how he delivered that last one was just off.
It was just cringy because you know the history of wrestling back and forth like I do, and we can both agree that through the mid to early 80s or even the 90s, Vince McMahon, he did everything in a very stereotypical way, right? And so Coco Beware used to come out dancing and singing and wearing really bright over the top outfits. You know, the default was all black wrestlers headbutted people, right? Because they have hard heads, right? That all that kind of stuff. And so again, I don't think Kevin Nash meant to go there, but when you say things of that nature, I'm like, so you want Javon Evans to be like Booker? You want him to be like JYD? You want him to be more like somebody from Nation of Domination? Like, I think Javon Evans, just the way he is, works fine. And I think Kevin Nash should know this. He's also a face. And when you're a face, there's only so much aggression you're going to show. You're the face.
Yeah, I think we're going to get the like aggressive Javon Evans at some point, but the babyface version of him doesn't really need the extra aggression right now.
Right. And the funny thing is, he's so early in his career, Brett, that I will say this: the idea of somewhere down the road, a guy with that kind of athleticism being a heel, that's really intriguing to me.
No, absolutely. Speaking of we got a big event coming up soon, WrestleMania, which you can get tickets for 25% off. Apparently tickets are not selling as fast as WWE would like, which, by the way, that still means they've sold almost like, I think, 40,000 tickets for each night.
Facts.
But they're apparently the reason why we don't got a lot of matches announced for WrestleMania right now is they're reworking a lot of the card because, well, once again, tickets aren't selling as fast as they thought they would. This feels like it's the most predictable problem, though, Mo. Like, of course it's not going to sell out. Like, what are you selling them on this year, right? Like, last year, you sold out May. A year ago, he's going to sell out John Cena's last WrestleMania. The year before that, okay, The Rock's coming back for a WrestleMania match. This year, maybe we thought it'd be AJ Styles' last WrestleMania, but he got retired at the Royal Rumble.
Right.
So it's, to me, between running it back in the same exact location as last year, it also just feels like there's not really that draw that's making me go, yeah, I have to watch WrestleMania. So I guess my question to you is, Mo, what do you think about this whole situation regarding WrestleMania ticket sales?
Look, everybody isn't like you and me. If we, we're gonna watch. You know what I'm saying? Like we're maniacal about wrestling, but do I think that what we have on the card so far, at least to build up what we think is going as far as storytelling, is that compelling? I don't think it's that great, but they've had to shift some things around too. Like no one predicted that Rollins was going to get injured. No one predicted that Breaker was going to get injured. Bianca Belair, it's still not a non-factor and won't be a non-factor. So that they've had to shift some things around. And then the women's division is very deep, but with Cargill as the champ and Stephanie Victoria as the other, it's really unique because Stephanie Victoria obviously is a very talented in-ring performer, but it's pretty obvious because she's not that gifted on the mic, and part of that is obviously she doesn't speak English that well, so she really can't sell her rivalries or sell herself because she's got to work on her mic work. Whereas Cargill isn't great on the mic, and she's improved in the ring, but she can only work with certain kind of performers. And I have to believe, like, to me, the easiest route is Liv is going to challenge Stephanie Victoria. I don't see how Liv and Cargill would work. It seems like an odd combination. I said earlier this morning that it could work because Liv obviously is a heel, but isn't Cargill a heel too? So I don't see how that would work. Like when you're a heel, you've got a bigger bag because you're willing to do more things because you're a heel, and you don't have to win clean and it's still credible because you're a heel. I think the better matchup would be Victoria versus Liv, and they need to find somebody for Cargill.
Oh yeah, hey, the Vakira versus Liv feud's already off to a terrific start. I'm not gonna lie, Mo. That segment that they had last week was so funny to me. Watching Dom just get slapped because Liv was talking crap to Stephanie.
Dom is like such a great comedic performer because he's willing to take one for the team for the betterment of the storyline. Like the guy is just gold. He's gonna have. It looks like he's gonna have that kind of career like the Miz, where he can do a little bit of everything.
No, absolutely. I feel like that. Part of me is wondering, like, what are they gonna do with Dom at WrestleMania? And it feels like if they don't go Dom versus Finn Balor, then what are we really doing here?
Yeah, I want that. I want that because Dom has actually become such a big star that in a great match with he and Finn Balor, Dom could lose the belt. I still think Dom would still have that same heat about him. And he's the kind of guy that'll pick himself up and he'll be wearing another belt at some point, be it a tag team belt or the, you know what I mean? Like Dom's that kind of dude. And I think it'd be a great matchup between he and Finn Balor. I'd love that matchup. So I like the idea of that. I'm good, obviously, with Reigns and Punk. But we are talking about WrestleMania. They need to tell more compelling stories to build up other matches that we want to see. And to this point, I don't think they've done as good a job as they've done the last couple of years. And you pointed it out. Yes, they had Cena's retirement, and that was huge. And then the year before was The Rock, which, by the way, to this day, the last 5 minutes of that match are like some of the greatest 5 minutes of WrestleMania ever. Love that. So yeah, they've got a lot to live up to. And like I said, the roster's been shaken up with some injuries. So they've had to shift focus and try to generate storylines out of thin air, and that's not that easy.
Yeah, I feel like it's also tough to like get the locals to come out, right? If you're running it back to back years, because you're already, if you're a local wrestling fan there, you're like, okay, I just paid, $1,000 or 1,500 or whatever for 2 nights of WrestleMania. Do I really want to do that again? Like, I feel like it's going to be challenging too to get some of those local guys, even if it is Vegas. There are a lot of high rollers, but man, say going to WrestleMania once is expensive. Trying to get people to go back to back years, they'll probably do it, but in this economy, that's rough.
You bring up an excellent point. And look, let's be honest. In Vegas, those high rollers, more times than not, they'd rather be in the casino than spend that money on a ticket to WrestleMania. I'm just being honest.
Say, Mo, I got in front of me, I have the average ticket price for WrestleMania over the last 5 years. So, WrestleMania 37, Mo, average ticket price, $170. Not bad. I would have loved that. I would love that. WrestleMania 38, $135. WrestleMania 39, $169. Now we get the TKO, merger. So TKO's first WrestleMania is obviously WrestleMania 40. Average ticket price, $341. So we've doubled. WrestleMania 41 average ticket price, $635. Like, yeah, I can't imagine like a lot of people are dying to run that back for a second year in a row at the low price of $650 a night.
Look, partner, and I know. Look, when people can afford the 170, I think even a lot of fans would be willing to pay 200. But now you're talking about not 300, but 600. Yeah, you're going to have some trouble selling tickets. And I think that TKO and WWE, the partnership, they have to be reasonable and know that you got to like read the room, know your audience. In this current economy, you're asking a lot to get fans to pay $200, $600 or more. Good luck.
Hey, and you know what? I will say though, if you're a wrestling fan, it is always worth going to WrestleMania weekend, even if you don't do WrestleMania. Like, there's a lot of really good, like, independent wrestling that goes on that weekend because everybody wants to take advantage of the WrestleMania crowd. Like, some of my favorite moments from WrestleMania weekend. Now, like I said, I got lucky and I went to WrestleMania 40, so I had a lot of great memorable Mania moments that I got to watch live. But like a lot of my favorite moments were just outside of wrestling, like going to Remix Rumble, the WWE themed nightclub, going to CZW, say meeting up with Gene and a couple of my other friends up over in Philly. So
That was dope. That was dope.
yeah, so overall, like I will say, if anybody's listening and thinking about going to WrestleMania, like I said, if you're a big fan of professional wrestling in general, it's normally worth going to WrestleMania weekend, even if you don't do any of the WWE stuff. There's a lot of wrestling in town that week.
See, I would like to go just for the reasons you pointed out. I'd want to be able to interact with all the other wrestling fans, but I think I would have a blast taking in a lot of the independent wrestling. I love that. I would have a lot of blast going to the different vendors and the other events outside of WrestleMania. Look, I can go to all that, have a great time, save some money, and watch WrestleMania on pay-per-view.
Yeah, absolutely. Say, I know I think my buddy Nick did that actually. He bought his WrestleMania tickets. He went to Philly, saw how much they were going for, so he sold them, but then ended up just getting like cheaper, like $100 tickets on the day of. But it's a great strategy. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, I've heard rumors that WrestleMania might come to Indianapolis, so if it does, I'm definitely gonna be pulling up for that.
See, we got to hook up. We got to link up so we can hit all the events outside of it.
No, absolutely. Say they were even wrestling events at like 3 o'clock in the morning, which I thought was wild.
That is crazy.
But to be fair, I think the story behind that one was after night one of WrestleMania 40 is when they planned this event. But obviously, traffic to get out of WrestleMania was a nightmare. So they just ended up delaying the event, and it was like a fun event that didn't get started until like 2 or 3 in the morning. I was supposed to go, but I didn't even realize that they were still going on because everybody's thing was taking so long to get out that I just went back to my Airbnb, and then my buddy was like, "Oh, were you there yesterday? I didn't see you." I'm like, "Y'all still had a show? It was like 3 in the morning."
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I guess we'll get more of a definitive build towards WrestleMania after Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? I think everything, the build up to Elimination Chamber and then the execution of Elimination Chamber, I think that sets up everything going towards WrestleMania from that point on. So that I think Elimination Chamber is huge in terms of what we're going to get for WrestleMania. Let me ask you a question. Do you think there's a better or a perfect matchup for Jade Cargill?
It's funny. The challenging part about that is I feel like there are fun ones. My first thought jumped to Rhea.
Ooh.
But obviously, I think we're getting Rio versus the Bella Twins at WrestleMania. If I had to take a guess,
100%.
I would honestly use, Jade Cargill to try to make another star. Like, okay, you know what? Well, maybe an undercard match, maybe Jade versus, I guess she's kind of well-knownish, but, we can give Jordynne Grace a fun. Those two had a fun match on SmackDown. I wouldn't mind running that back. They teased Jade versus Charlotte. That could be fun. But why not Jade against someone like Lash Legend?
You read my mind. I think Lash Legend, and I know this would be really fast, but I think her physical stature makes her a perfect matchup for Jade. And the fact that she's the athlete that she is makes her a good matchup for Jade. I was also thinking about Sal Roca, someone like that, because of her freakish athleticism. There are some fun ones. And look, I'm not taking shots at Jade. I think Jade's come a long way as an in-ring performer, but she clearly has a ways to go. And since she's been champion, you could be, if we're being 100, the division's been a little stunted in one half because she's only defended the title one time. You've been the champion for over 100 days. One defense, like it's almost like they're hiding her. She's not injured. They're just not putting her in matches.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it. Like her and Naomi had a fun match last year at WrestleMania. So you know she can give you at least a fun match with the right opponent. So
I want to look again. I'm a fan. I know it sounds like I'm bagging on her. I'm not.
Oh.
I'm a huge fan, but I think because she's a power wrestler, you have to pair her with somebody who complements her skill sets. You just can't throw anybody out there. Like it wouldn't work. And I do think she will get better over time. If I were gonna complain, I would say that I think WWE, they rushed her too fast to put a belt on her. I feel like she should have spent more time in NXT. Honestly, I do. But they went another route.
Yeah, they just straight up skipped a potential Jade NXT run, which I really think she would have benefited from.
100% she would have benefited from. I get it because she was already a star, an established star in AEW, but you still didn't have to rush that. Like she has time, and it's not like the women's division is hurting for talent. Not when you've got Rhea and all the others out there right now. Stephanie Vicour, by the way, even though Jade's only defended her title once, Vicour defended her title a few times, but she hasn't defended it with what I would say against top tier competition. Like her biggest competition has been Roxanne, and I think Roxanne is much improved, but they haven't put her up against somebody like Tiffy or put her up against somebody like Rhea or any of the bigger names. And I don't know why they haven't done that, because her run as champion has been very, very stunted. Her run as champion feels a lot like Gunther's run as champion. Like he won it, and then instead of getting the big push in the big matches, they didn't really do a whole lot with him. I feel that's what they're doing with her too.
So no, absolutely. I think I do think that Liv versus Stephanie would make for a fun night one main event. I know it won't happen, but hey, I think those two ladies can tear the house down.
We always try to look ahead sometimes. If that matchup does become what happens, I think it is going to be a great match. But I'll be honest, I would be shocked if Liv didn't walk out as a champ, because again, when you're the heel, I always feel like you have the advantage in a big match. And if Liv wins the belt again, I feel like that sets up maybe down the road. I don't want to see Liv and Rhea again, not anytime soon. Somebody put this out there. I think it was Will this morning. He said, what if it becomes a triple threat and it's Stephanie, Liv, and Roxanne? You know what I mean? How those dynamics could make it more interesting, because on one hand, they're teammates. On the other hand, they both want to be champion. It sets up a whole different dynamic.
Yeah, I think that sounds like, honestly, if Liv does win the title, that I'm not going to say probably not right away at Backlash, but like, look, if you need a title match for like Money in the Bank, that would be a fun one. That does sound like a fantastic title match, and I think that's one that they will eventually do to pass the time, because I feel like the end game here is you end up with, Liv wins the title from Stephanie, they can have another match, and then you go Stephanie Liv versus Raquel and Roxanne. Say SummerSlam though, hey, women's title, Liv versus AJ, sign me up.
Oh my God! Look! Now you're talking to a guy. Chat. I'll be honest. I'm very, very biased. And I do like Liv. I like Liv Morgan. She's very entertaining. But AJ Lee's one of my favorite performers. Obviously, I'd be rooting for AJ. I would love to see that matchup. That's a great matchup. There's just so many different things you can do. I feel like Liv winning the belt again in a weird way basically signals the end of the Judgment Day in a lot of ways. Like because I think Finn Balor, if him and Dom match up and they're gonna have a banger, I think Finn Balor winning the belt from Dom is another notch going towards ending the Judgment Day. And Roxanne and at some point Raquel and Liv having somewhat of a feud or whatever. And again, I think it makes for an interesting storyline. It's compelling. It's interesting. I would love to see any number of those matchups.
No, absolutely. And honestly, though, I will say you can break up the Judgment Day, but personally, it might just be me, Mo, but I don't know if I'd actually break up like Liv and Dom rather than let them go like their own separate ways. It's weird to me. Like I've already seen like the Liv, Rhea, and Dom feud. Say if Liv and Dom break up, like they're not going to let them have a singles match against each other. So like, I would almost make it if they're going to split them up, make it be like more of a peaceful breakup. Maybe like, hey, we're not together, but I got your back or something like that. So
I like that. Or like you said, they just if the Judgment Day breaks up, those two stick together. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, say they're great together, but say I'm curious when I wonder how impactful Dom's going to be in the Liv versus Stephanie feud. I know he's been in the first, like he was in the segment last week. He was in the segment again tonight. I am curious if he's going to be a prominent part of that feud just until they get his WrestleMania opponent squared away, or is he just going to be kind of a third wheel in that feud right up until the actual match?
I'm going to try to play Swami here. I think Dom is prominent. I think Dom helps Liv win the belt again. She's not going to beat Stephanie clean. She wins the belt again. And on the same night, or night two, Dom loses the belt to Finn Balor.
Say, no, that's fair. We had Logan Paul call somebody out, Mo. Logan Paul called out Bad Bunny. Hey, maybe that's that Bad Bunny WrestleMania match I thought was possible last week.
You know what? I think that would be an entertaining match. Bad Bunny is a really good athlete. We know what type of athlete Logan Paul is. I'd watch that.
No, absolutely. I will say though, the most latest WrestleMania rumor doesn't really have me excited at all, Mo. The latest rumor of Brock Lesnar versus LA Knight.
Ugh.
I've look, LA Knight's kind of grown on me. Like he can deliver a fun match with the right person. Like I thought his match with Logan Paul at SummerSlam, for example, from a couple years ago was great. But at the same time, man, I don't like him and Lesnar pairing. I have a feeling that that's going to be a snooze fest.
I think LA Knight as an in-ring performer is actually a really good performer, but he's never grown on me. I don't even know why. I like to be able to explain it to you, but I don't know. There's something about him that I don't like. I don't know what it is. I feel like LA Knight is like the Brooklyn Brawler with athletic ability, but it just annoys me. He just annoys me. Maybe because his persona is kind of a ripoff of Macho Man and Stone Cold, and it annoys me.
It's one of those things why I don't know if I'm excited or not for a Brock Lesnar match ever. Is at this point I haven't been excited for a Brock Lesnar match in like a decade, but the challenge with it though is, does Brock Lesnar care about Brock Lesnar's match? Because there's just such a genuine difference when he cares and when he doesn't. And you can tell when he doesn't and he's just mailing it in. So, like, it's a match that I think has the potential to be good because we've seen Brock put on good performances. We've seen LA Knight put on good performances. But does Brock care enough to put on a good performance? $1 million question. I don't think he'll be game for this one.
And here's another question. Is he going to continue his career as he's not even a part-time performer? He's a every now and then performer, or is he closer to retirement? Because if he's thinking about stepping away on a permanent basis, then the obvious opponent for Brock Lesnar would be Gunther.
I think that's going to be SummerSlam. You got Brock Lesnar going into Minnesota. Obviously, that's his hometown. I feel like if they're gonna retire him, it's gonna be at SummerSlam in front of his hometown.
I wouldn't mind seeing Brock Lesnar against one of the younger guys. I mean, I do think an LA Knight Lesnar matchup, if Lesnar's motivated, like you said, could be a very compelling match. But maybe what he needs to be motivated is somebody he views as a physical challenge. That would be somebody like Obafemi.
It's one of those things where I really would love to see, Oba be the one to step up to Brock. If you're going to give Brock a match at WrestleMania, you might as well try to put the young guy over with him. Yeah, that would have been fun. I feel like that would have just annoyed me because I know Oba would probably be the one losing. Like, that would annoy me. But I will admit, I think Oba and Brock would be a lot better of a matchup, like you said, from a physicality standpoint. And if they went bold and let Oba win, that would probably just be the best result for everybody involved.
That would be bold if they let Femi win, because you know how it usually goes. Lesnar would probably win, but it would be great if they shook it up. And because Lesnar winning, yeah, he's defeating Obafemi, but Obafemi is basic. Let's essentially call him, he's not a rookie to wrestling, but he is a rookie to the main roster, right? I don't think it enhances Brock Lesnar anymore. But if Obafemi beat Brock Lesnar at a WrestleMania, it absolutely elevates him.
Yeah, saying that's what I would honestly use Brock for at this point. Even if you're going to put him in a retirement match against Gunther at SummerSlam, and let's say that is his last match, like, does Brock Lesnar really lose anything if he loses at WrestleMania and at SummerSlam? Like, no. It doesn't change anything. In fact, the only thing you can do at that point is try to make it, a new star. Even if you had him lose the next two matches and he wrestles in 2027, like, I don't think it really matters. This dude's just untouchable at this point. He is who he is. Like, let's use that to get some of these younger names over.
I think that's one of the reasons why John Cena is one of my favorite performers, because it wasn't lost on John Cena when somebody asked about his record. And he said, my record in recent years, he's lost more than he won. But that was because John Cena, even though he was a ginormous star, Brett, he had no problem putting guys over because he knew it was for the betterment of the company. It was for the betterment of wrestling. And it always gave those other performers a big push by beating John Cena. So I'm not sure Lesnar's cut from the same cloth. My gut instinct is Lesnar's cut from the same cloth as Hulk Hogan. And he's not trying to put anybody over, whether he's retiring or not.
You know what's funny? From what I've gathered on like interviews and whatnot about Lesnar, I feel like it's more of a WWE issue. I think Lesnar would put, me over if I paid him, $5 million. Like, I pay him enough money. He's like, all right, who am I doing business with? It's one of those things where I feel like WWE sometimes just overthinks it, right? Like, oh, we can't have, Lesnar lose this match if we're going to have him, wrestle Gunther. We don't want to make Lesnar look weak. Like,
right.
There are some guys that I feel like I could have, Lesnar lose the next 5 matches in a row, and I don't think much would change about him perception-wise. Like, John Cena lost, like you mentioned earlier, Cena lost, 5 matches in a row between, before he started finally winning again at Elimination Chamber, and didn't really hurt anybody's perception of him. Randy Orton's won one PLE match since returning in 2023, and that was his return match in 2023. So
Right.
I think they just overthink it. Like, some of these guys are just indeed bulletproof. Like, I feel like you should use that to their advantage more.
No, I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. WrestleMania is right around the corner. Mo, we got Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks. Do you think we get any surprises at the Chamber? Like maybe Road to WrestleMania, where there's rumors swirling about guys like Chris Jericho. Do you think we get any big shockers at the Chamber to spruce up the road to WrestleMania?
I hope so. I hope there's somebody throws a wrench in the current plans, the current path around, maybe something we don't see. Maybe Javon Evans gets a push. Maybe Dragunov, who by the way is another young former that I love. Maybe they call up from somebody from NXT and they get a push. There's so much talent top to bottom on the roster. It was a point where, Brett, I thought Sami Zayn was getting ready to get a really big push towards competing for a title. And maybe he was, but I feel like they pivoted away from that and changed their direction. And I don't know if that has anything to do with WrestleMania sales or any of that. I always think every time they pivot from a storyline, it has something to do with money, right? Like not necessarily the story, but the money or the interest in the feud. And I get that. I hope there are surprises. I hope performers that we don't see coming show up. And I'm talking old and new. So you can bring in a new star, but if they bring in somebody that's a blast from the past in the men's or women's division, I'm here for it. I love stuff like that.
Saying friendly reminder, at least make the surprises make sense. I don't need a surprise and it resulting in Travis Scott being in the main event of WrestleMania. So
no, I don't want that either. That to this day, the slowest and longest entrance ever.
Yeah, that what's funny is the entrance took like 3 to 5 minutes to do, and it felt like it went for 15 watching it live, because I just remember like, okay, this is dragging, like you're only halfway up the ramp, please move quicker. It was a weird choice, but yeah, no, I agree. I hope there's a lot of surprises. I just hope there's no panic moves that lead to short-sighted decisions.
I agree. I hope Triple H and the creative team try to put together some not just compelling matchups, but some really good surprises. And look, you can bring back a blast from the past for a moment. They don't have to be part of WrestleMania, like being a match, but if they're just part of it, even the build up to it, we the fans, we soak that stuff up. So I'm here for that, and I hope they do things like that. I hope somebody that's injured isn't as injured as we think they are, and they surprise us. I look for those kind of surprises because I think it not only elevates the show, it elevates the build up to WrestleMania. So I'm like I said, I think Elimination Chamber is the start. It is the starting point for everything we're going to get. So I know that they're going to try to do a great build up, and they're going to have some surprises for us, and I can't wait.
No, for sure. Before we get out of here, Mo, I'm going to push an agenda for 2026, and I think you'll be on board with this one. We're talking. I think that Dominic Mysterio will lose the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania to Finn Balor. But the agenda I'm pushing is it's because they're getting ready for that Money in the Bank run. That's right. I'm picking Dom Mysterio to win the Money in the Bank briefcase this year.
I don't know if you're right, but I hope you're 100% right. I'm here for that. We've mentioned a lot of up and coming young stars. People forget that Dom is still a young man, and I think that he's paid his dues. And he's not done. I think Dom is ready to be elevated to competing with the very top of the card So I love that Dom is going to win Money in the Bank. Sign me up for that. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be great. They're gonna like tease us too. They're gonna let Sami Zayn finally win the big one just to get cashed in by Dom, and it's gonna be terrific television.
Dom with the Money in the Bank suitcase is awesome because if there's anybody that ever cashed in at the perfect time, Dom is not going to cash in until the competitors are completely decimated.
Dame Lillard win a match at WrestleMania, not playing the NBA season. Look, at the rate Dame's doing side quests, he just might. Why not? Say maybe we can get Kevin Durant at WrestleMania. He can wrestle some of the people he was talking smack on his burners with.
I know this is outside of wrestling, but real quick, has it been confirmed that it was? And I know he's already got a history with burners. Has it been confirmed that what's been reported is him?
No, I don't think it ever. I don't know if it ever will. It's one of those things that it's weird. Like, if it's not him and the locker room understands it, then I'm sure that it will never just get addressed, or he'll randomly drop it in a tweet, but not. Honestly, Mo, I don't think it's him either. In all reality, it's funny that people think it is, but I don't really think it's him.
The only reason I'm saying it is because I'm with you. I lean towards more it's not him, but he does have a history of doing that, right? That's the problem. Like, you can say it's not him, but because he's had a history of doing such things, what if that casts just a little bit of doubt in that use in the locker room?
Oh, if that does turn out to be true and that is him, like, they're gonna have to trade him in the offseason, because how do you function in a locker room where like your star player's doing stuff like that and your star player's 37? So like it probably just forces them to move on a lot sooner than they thought. But hey, you know what? So you gotta love gotta love it. We got KD burners. It's gonna be it's gonna be a great episode of And One, Mo. It's gonna be great.
Oh, I can't wait. I know we're here to talk about the wrestling, and we love wrestling, so we can do wrestling all day long. It's funny. I just had another entry into the wrestling slam dunk competition. Montez Ford.
Oh no, absolutely. I remember we were talking about that, and that just reminded me of those really funny segments between Matt Hardy and MVP when they were doing all the different contests, and they played a game of one-on-one, and it was the most ridiculous thing ever. Anything you want to add before we get up on out of here, Mo?
No, appreciate the chat. Thank you guys for joining us. And make sure you join us on And One Thursday.
Absolutely. Like I said, we'll be talking about burners. All-Star Weekend. Hey, maybe we'll start talking about other guys with burner accounts. Shout out Brian Colangelo, the son of Jerry Colangelo, who got in trouble on the 76ers for having a burner.
All right, I remember that. Sure.
But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. We definitely appreciate you, and we hope to check out Sports Report in about 7 minutes, and enjoy the rest of your night.